monsters ever die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Dan Aykroyd.
Mm-hmm.
So, did a lot of films, a lot of funny films, but Ghostbusters, of course, everybody remembers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, I grew up on it, you grew up on it, and now they're making all kinds of iterations now, and there was a cartoon show, and there's all this stuff. So, before all that, though, Dan Aykroyd was the one who came up with the idea for the movie.
Yeah.
Which is really supposed to be him and Jim Belushi, like, going through, like, multiple, like, spiritual far out realms, like fighting ghosts, right? But it was deemed to be too expensive and ridiculous for a 1984 budget, understandably.
Yeah.
So they brought someone in to rewrite it to make it more realistic. Right? I mean, whatever. Anyway,
it's Ghostbusters. How realistic is it going to be?
Right. You know, but the reason he came up with the first idea to begin with is he has a long history in his family of spiritualism. Spiritualism is in mediums who contact ghosts and the study of ghosts. So his dad wrote a history of ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
His mother claimed to have seen ghosts and claimed that she could contact them. His grandfather experimented with radios to try to contact the dead. And his great-grandfather was a well-known spiritualist / medium, like when people do seances and that sort of thing.
That's cool. Dan
Right?
Aykroyd.
Yeah.
And
Dan Aykroyd.
did you know he's got his own vodka company?
Checks out. All the big stars get alcohol companies.
It is expensive, but I got one bottle a few years back for my birthday. It was like $80, and this kind of ties into what you were saying. All of his bottles are the shapes of human skulls, and almost anatomically correct, just a little bit smaller.
Of course. Okay, I've seen those. I didn't know that was his company.
Yeah, and they're called Crystal Skull.
Oh, okay, yeah, I have seen those.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was his.
Yeah, that's
Crystal
his.
Skull.
That's
funny.
I mean,
That's good.
I
That's
thought
clever.
for sure, like, expensive vodka. Yeah, this is gonna rock, right?
Right.
It's vodka. Just buy the cheap shit, man.
I mean, vodka just tastes like. I mean, it doesn't have any other overtones. It just tastes like alcohol.
Yeah.
And that's why people get it, because you just mix it and there's nothing else to work with.
Kudos to that man that just sips vodka, because
Harder dude than me.
I cannot do it.
Harder dude than me.
Much bigger man than myself. Anyway, what's up, everybody?
Welcome to the show.
Yes, my name is Victus.
And I'm Aeon.
And this is Beyond the Shadows podcast, where we do our best to suss the truth out behind paranormal goings-on.
And things.
Yes. But
so we were going to cover EVPs and ghost hunting equipment.
Well, originally it was just EVPs, but we ran into a problem.
Yeah, so we tried to pivot to ghost hunting equipment.
Yeah.
And knew of a guy who does some really interesting work, except we ran into a problem. Most of the cool EVP stuff is licensed by folks who I'm told I'm censored from using their name because they say not to use any of their content. So for those reasons, just said that I can't even tell you who it is, but I'm sure you know it's Ghost something redacted censored.
Yes.
So like all the shows. So unfortunately, the guy who does all the interesting work also happens to be a subcontractor for them, so also still can't use it.
Yeah, like we originally we were just going to do EVPs. We were going to do a whole episode on EVPs, and dug, and I found a couple that were, free to use, but they were like, it was obviously somebody just saying, "Get out of my house," like behind the camera or whatever. And all of the good stuff was, yes, from a popular television show that we're not allowed to use. So,
And has plenty of money to sue us for it. So
yeah. So we're
way more than us.
So we're like, cool, we'll just do an episode on equipment. And it came down to like 15 pieces of equipment, and all of the great examples were on that same show. And the guy that invented that same stuff works for that show. So we had some good stuff lined up. I mean, I do encourage you, if you want to look into it, check it out. I'm sure you know what show we're talking about.
It's very popular. Also, on the other hand, just for fun, Google ghost hunting equipment or equipment ghost hunters use or ghost detecting devices, and there's a bunch of ads for stuff you can buy for your kids on Amazon and Walmart.com.
Yeah.
Plug for both of you. So, you know, if you feel like birthdays aren't exciting enough, you know, get your kid into hunting EVPs.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I was actually gonna use this as part of our intro, but I do have a ghost hunting story. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, tell me.
So when I first moved to the Fort Smith area, when I lived over there, you know, I didn't know anybody, so I went to, you know, took off walking around town, started meeting people, and I found a place downtown that had a sign up for ghost tours. So I was like, cool, let's check this out. And I go in there, start talking to the owner. He's like, yeah, I do paranormal investigations. Are you interested? I said, well, yeah.
Of course.
So, you know, it was a historic town. So it wasn't in Fort Smith. It was just outside of Fort Smith. And the town had been there since, like, cowboy days. So the first investigation that we did was 2 buildings. So one of them was, at the time, it was like a leather shop. They made like saddles and, you know, holsters and stuff like that. But back in the early 1800s, it was a brothel.
Of course. Most things were in Arkansas.
Yeah. So that was building number 1. And building number 2 was, at the time, a restaurant. But the upstairs, you know, the ground level floor was a restaurant, but there was a second floor. And years ago, people used to live up there. And
okay,
so they're like, all sorts of bad stuff happened up here. We didn't get anything there. But interestingly enough, we did get the cops called on us there. But it's fine. It's fine. They were cool about it. They're like, we just drove by and saw people walking around in this restaurant with the flashlights. We didn't know what was going on.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
And they were totally cool. They came in, and I think the only thing we got that in that building was orbs. But they were like, cool, could we see your equipment? You know, could we see what you guys are doing? I'm like, sure, come on, man, let's get you. And one cop sat down and I showed, because I was the camera guy. I ran all the equipment. And it was like, as soon as they walked in, orbs everywhere, which was really weird. Because I'm not,
like,
I don't
with the flashlights or with the camera equipment?
With the camera equipment. So we had cameras all over the building, like end of hallways, corners of rooms, you know, stuff like that. And we were all downstairs. And as soon as the cops walked in the building, you know, I'm still monitoring the cameras because I want to see this stuff live. And as soon as they walked in the building, orbs, tiny orbs everywhere. And they're like, oh, it's probably just dust. I was like, nobody's been upstairs for like 15 minutes.
And it's not like the AC's on.
Yeah, because there was no AC up there. It was hot.
Dang.
But that's not the spooky part. So that's
what's the spooky part?
That's building number 2. Building number 1, the one that used to be a brothel, there was an upstairs there also. And they said every time they remodeled the upstairs, something happens and it always catches on fire. They said we can do all new electrical, all new plumbing, everything. And as soon as it's finished, within a couple days, it catches just the top floor. The ground level doesn't burn. Right?
Okay.
So
weird.
So they went up, you know, the last fire was like 90s, somewhere in the 90s, late 90s. So we went upstairs and they had gone through and torn out all the burned stuff and then replaced. So you could see the entire floor, but there were walls there, but it was just studs. There was no drywall or nothing up.
Okay.
And it was a couple of young kids, and I'm like, these kids don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I was like, these kids are just out here having fun. I get it. I was grumpy because I just didn't want to be around a bunch of fucking kids. But they were like 14.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they love. I get it, but kids aggravate me. I meant, yeah. But
Old man grumpy face.
yes. So I'm running a handheld camera. We didn't have cameras set up. Everybody was just carrying handheld cameras. And we were in the main room, one big room in the middle of the second floor. And we got the tape recorder going, and everybody's got cameras going, and we told everybody, turn off your flashlights. So we're gonna do a voice session. And we set this flashlight. So there's a thing that investigators like to do where they usually use the flashlights where you like twist the head of the flashlight to turn it on.
Okay.
But you twist it just to the point where it barely turns off, and then you set it down.
Okay.
And the theory behind that is a ghost can interact with that and turn the light on and off. And I was like, this is going to be...
It takes very little.
Yes.
Kind of like the affecting the diaphragm on a microphone, but you can't hear it.
Right.
But if you got a close tap, obviously tap the diaphragm and just be loud as hell.
Right.
Okay.
So I was like, this
Checked out.
is going to be some bullshit. I was like, this is going to work. I was like, I don't even... Because, like, you go into a... Excuse me. Hang. Like, you go into a building, you immediately get a vibe, right?
Right.
And I was like, sure, it's spooky. There's walls are, missing, and there's a history, but I'm not like spooked or nothing. And so we're all sitting on the floor and we're asking questions, and then they would say, if you're here, turn on the light. And I'm sitting next to it, and I'm just like scrolling through my phone and not really paying attention. And then the fucking light turns on. I'm like, what? So I turn and look at it, and they're asking questions. So I get up, right? I'm like, there's got to be something. So like I said, there's no drywall. It's all exposed studs. And it's sitting on a 2x4. And I have the camera in my hand, and I'm going back and forth from the front side to the back side of the light while it turns on and off to show that nobody's touching it. And they're like, turn it on if you're a woman. And then it would turn on. And they'd be like, okay, can you turn it off, please? And then it would sit for a second, and then it would turn off. And it legit felt like it was answering questions. It was...
Dang.
It was spooky, man.
Wow.
So then...
I like that.
I don't have this video anymore because I just gave it to the guy who ran the company. But... I was watching... So that's the downside of doing an investigation like this, is the next day you get to go back and watch all of the video that you recorded. And so next day I'm just sitting in bed watching video. It was like 6 hours of video, just me holding a shitty camera. And there was one point where we were all sitting on the floor trying to get the flashlight to turn on. And everybody had their flashlights turned off. And the first question that was asked said, is there anybody here? Can you show yourself? A green light flies across the screen. And so, like, I knew the girl who was sitting in front of me. So I asked her the next day, I was like, show me your equipment that you were using the other night. So she showed me, and I'm looking at it. I was like, is there lights on any of this? And she said, the only light I had was a flashlight, and it was turned off.
That's cool.
I was like, what? And it was like,
that's cool.
so like this screen that you see here, this was like the frame. It was like this big.
Oh.
And it did like a weird floaty thing and left a trail. It was weird. Because
Did it leave it on any of the other cameras?
No, just the one I was using.
Isn't that funny too? Because you kind of thought it was going to be a wash, so you weren't.
Yeah.
You're just.
But I got one.
Hanging out.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
So.
And for those of you that forget, Victus is an actual paranormal investigator, whereas I'm more like a groupie.
I've done this stuff. I don't do it currently, my investigating now is this, what we do here. So then we were running a spirit box, which I don't think you know what it is. So I'm gonna explain it. So there's a few different variants of a spirit box. Essentially, what you're doing is you've got an electrical device that creates either white noise or cycles through radio frequencies, and you ask questions, and you will audibly hear a response. So there's
like you're giving them something electrical to interact with.
Correct.
Kind of like the idea of a flashlight, but a different medium.
right. So the one we used, I might actually have it on my phone right now. Let me see if I still got it. Oops, I just turned off my lights. Turn those back on. I might have it on here. No, I don't have it anymore. It was called the Portal. Cool little app. But what it does is it scans radio frequencies. So a normal spirit box will scan radio frequencies and just play a fraction of the sound. So the theory behind that is, if it's an intelligent spirit, it can link those sounds together and make a word.
Oh, okay.
So all you're hearing is snips of different radio stations.
Okay, I got it.
But this one, I like this one, and this is why I picked it. It plays the audio backward.
Oh.
So you're less likely to just by happenstance get a word put together.
From random phrases of people.
So if your audio is backward and something makes a word out of it,
yeah,
it's much more likely to be intelligent. You know, I'm gonna see if I can't download this right quick. But we're sitting there doing, this spirit box session, and I'm listening real close, man, because I wanted so bad for it to be, a legit experience. And
right.
And so it's cycling through. Oh, cool, it's done downloading already. That was fast. Let me see if I can get this audio on here. Hearing it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's backward.
Okay.
You kind of get the idea of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But this is the app we were using. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening, trying to put words together. And a lot of times it's just gibberish and there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept asking questions. I was like, is anybody here? Anybody here? And I could have swore I kept hearing the name Sierra. And I was like, it kept happening. Like, I think 15 times we got the name Sierra. And I was like, dang, somebody here must have used to live in Nevada. Right? I was like, it's Arkansas, anybody could have been from, a different part of the country.
Okay.
And the whole time, one of these 14-year-old kids was standing in the corner as this girl, and she's standing there with her arms folded. I was like, I don't know what's going on with Sierra, but they really like the place. And the girl goes, that's my name. What?
Oh, that's cool.
Dead ass.
Was she freaked out?
No, she says this. She's like, this has been happening my entire life. It doesn't bother me.
Oh, okay.
She's like, guess why I'm here? They like me. And I was like,
oh,
cool.
Good to know.
Wow. Yeah, and I'll never forget that investigation to the day I die, man. It was a cool little place. But they did a remodel of that building in the 80s, I think. And when they did, they tore up the original floor and put new decking down because it was warping.
Mm-hmm.
And when they tore up the floor, they found 4 skeletons under the floor and a trap door above them. So the working theory was that as a form of punishment, for the women that worked in the brothel, they would put them under the floor.
And some just didn't come out.
Yeah.
Oh, hence the haunted, wrathful fire stuff.
So that was what we were thinking.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I had a lot
Well,
of
that's
fun.
a juicy piece we could have led with. Skeletons into the floorboards.
But the weird thing is I feel like I catch a vibe pretty quick when I'm in a building. And I did not feel like bad energy, you know, like you can tell, like if two people were arguing and you just walk in the room, you know immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't feel any of that, so it's just weird. Maybe I'm not as awesome as I thought I was, so whatever. Fuck you, ghost. So what we ended up deciding on this week was I pulled a Reddit thread, one of my very favorite Reddit threads, and this guy, let me get his name so I get this right. This is on the Reddit thread /no sleep from 9 years ago. The guy, his name is Search and Rescue Woods, so he works for the Forest Service in the United States. He won't say where. He's private. He's very private.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a SAR officer, which is search and rescue.
Okay.
And this guy's thread was so engaging that I just noticed this, that he won the Best Reddit Thread Award in 2015. So
Dang.
So yeah.
Okay.
There's some roots to this, and this is terribly interesting to me because it was following this thread that I learned about the stairs that I was telling you about last week.
Oh yeah, the random stairs in the forest.
Yeah, and I don't think he touches on it in this one, so we can save more of this for another episode because there's like 9 parts to this.
Oh.
But he does touch on it. Hold on. Okay. There's a copyright note. I was just reading it.
Almost effed again.
Almost. Well, it says you can't repost it without explicit permission.
Oh well, good. We're not posting anything. Sounds great.
If you want to narrate, translate, or otherwise share somebody else's original work, please read the narrator's FAQs. Well, I'm not trying to do that to anybody else's work. I'm trying to do it to this one. It's fine. If they say anything,
It's fine.
We'll adjust. But this guy's name is Search and Rescue Woods, and he does search and rescue for the United States Forest Service. So my plan was to read some of these because they, even if they are fake, they're damn good. They're damn good. And it's just we had trouble putting together something that would be a good enough episode for this week, and we needed to record, frankly. So we're gonna start up.
And let's face it. While we do research, you're not here for the hard hitting research. You're here for the personalities and hand gestures.
Hand gestures.
And we can't have personalities if we don't have something to talk about. So we're going to talk about this.
So we might just read a couple of these and then, talk about them. But I will say that this guy's when it turned me on to the Forest Service stories. So apparently, people that work for the Forest Service, especially in search and rescue, all sorts of crazy stories come out. All sorts. And a lot of people don't report this stuff. So what this guy was doing was he was collecting these stories from people and he was posting them on Reddit.
Okay. Yeah, because you don't want to tell your superior that you're losing your mind.
Right. The stairs thing. So apparently, so what I hear a lot with the stairs thing is like they'll be doing a search and rescue thing and out in the middle of the woods, they'll split up. Search and rescue people will go out by themselves.
Yeah.
And, they can go, 3-4 hours in the woods by themselves and not get lost. Or if they do, they know how to handle themselves. So these guys will be out there walking around and they'll see a perfectly pristine staircase just in the middle of the woods.
Made out of dirt.
No. Let me see if I can just Google something right quick.
I mean, what are the stairs made out of?
Usually, the way I was told it was described was like they took a staircase out of your house and it just plopped in the middle of the woods.
Oh, like a built
Yes.
indoor staircase outside.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird. Oh. Are those just some representations?
These are just like I'm looking for. It's like this is actually an art installation.
Right.
I was hoping.
Because the Forest Service builds a lot of stairs out.
But these would be
not for outdoor use stairs.
Like this. Just a fucking staircase in the middle of nowhere, leading to nothing.
Huh. And I see those cement ones too, that do just look like a chunk pulled out of like the sidewalk here and dropped out there that doesn't go to anywhere.
Yeah. So stuff like this, but usually there won't be like a wall. This is another one of those art installations.
Yeah.
There won't be like a wall at the top.
It'll just
end.
Huh.
But they won't, like this one's by a body of water. This one's obviously there so you can look out over the land, but
right.
Imagine like a wooden staircase with a handrail that looks like it belongs in a house, just plucked out of a house and dropped in the middle of the woods.
That's how they describe it.
Yeah. And
the
stories go that they'll go up the stairs and they'll be like, this is really weird, and then climb back down and then find everybody, and they'll be like, where were you? And they're like, I was just out in the woods. And they're like, you've been gone for 3 days. And so there's like theories running around that this ties in with UFOs, like these were landing places for UFOs, and when you go up, you're getting picked up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
But then there's also, I remember reading one story where a guy goes up and has like a brain aneurysm and just dies. And when they autopsy him, so have you ever read the book Timeline by Michael Crichton?
No. Though I've read a bunch of Michael Crichton stuff. That's interesting that I haven't read that one.
Timeline's great. You should read Timeline. Or at least watch the movie. Gerard Butler's in it. It's good. So is
haven't seen it.
So was Paul Walker. He's in it.
Oh, where they go back to medieval times. Yeah, they have the weird time loop between there and here. Yeah, and they're going back like it's an archaeological study. So in costume and everything, and then it turns out they're part of what affected the timeline of the area in the first place. I got you. Sorry to spoil it for everybody. Go watch it though; it's really good.
So the crux of that at the beginning of the movie, especially in the book, they get into a lot of details in the book. A guy travels too many times, and when he comes back, he has what they call a transcription error. When his pieces are being put back together from the time travel, they don't quite line up correctly.
Oops.
And so what they say is it looked like they cut him and then put him back together, but nothing lined up correctly.
Oops.
And everything is off by just like a fraction of an inch. And then he ends up dying from it. Well,
right.
Some of the things with the stories of the stairs is people are going up these stairs and they'll fall drop dead, and when they do the autopsy, that's what they're finding inside of them.
Stuff that's slightly misaligned.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like they were transported and transported back somewhere.
A transcription
Well,
error occurs.
You know, that's interesting because the theory about like if you were going to make an actual like Star Trek teleporter. Sorry, my mustache is itching.
Oh, I thought you were smelling your finger. I don't know what you do in your free time.
No, that's my disguise when I don't want to be recognized.
I have one of those. See?
Inspector.
Mine's
My
made.
Inspector finger mustache.
Mine's made out of hair.
Yeah, this is to get rid of it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes, to get it's an anti-mustache. It's an anti-mustache mustache. Yeah.
so I would have to do something like this. This is what I look like with no beard.
So that was what they, you know, whenever people talk about like if you're going to make a real Star Trek transporter, right? Like the concept in Star Trek is they, you know, take a flash image of your pattern, is what, because what they put you into then is the pattern buffer, which is kind of like a ROM buffer of where everything was aligned in your body, every molecule, and then it gets reproduced somewhere else from the pattern buffer. And the interesting thing in Star Trek is they go into it in some of the later stuff, or I guess more recent stuff, that you could actually keep someone alive indefinitely in the pattern buffer if you never turned it off. Like you load them into the pattern buffer and they don't age, and when you drop them back out again, they're the same person that you loaded into the pattern buffer. But you know, there's when they went back and did some of the early like they went back and did that show Enterprise, right, which is supposed to be like really early Star Trek, like earlier than Kirk. And there's a guy, they talk about using the transporter because it's kind of finicky because it's still early tech.
Yeah.
And dude gets transported back up and has grass from where he was standing got transported with him, is embedded all over his skin.
No.
Because you know it's early. But yeah, so like that's really interesting that they had like, you know, a transcription error,
Yeah.
you know, from replicating it back, that they didn't quite get aligned. That's interesting.
Yeah, it kind of feeds into the idea that they're feeding us things that are real through science fiction.
Right.
So like,
Right.
maybe this really can happen, and they're just trickle feeding us this information. So when when the full information drops, you're like, oh, it's like this thing in Star Trek.
It's like that thing that I saw that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read about that on Reddit.
I read it. Yeah, exactly. I saw a thread on Reddit about that.
So it's really interesting. I didn't know I keep calling it a transcription error. That's a really good way to put it.
It is. It is.
Kudos to Michael
We're adopting
Crichton.
it officially.
That man can write.
We're officially adopting it.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna call it transcription errors from here on out. So maybe we'll see if we can find some stories of the stairs. And oh yeah, so like something else they would say was like, yeah, I was out in the woods and I saw this staircase, and then like everybody would get quiet and be like,
And then what happened?
just don't go near them. Don't even like if you see them, just walk away. Worth it.
Whoa.
And they'd be like, if you see them, just walk away. And those people that get told to walk away, those are the ones that get the transcription errors.
Because they walked away, or because they go anyway?
Because they go anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, best way to get somebody to do something is tell them
Not
just
to do.
whatever you do, don't do this. Best way to get somebody to do something.
But
why? Just trust
just
me.
don't do it.
That doubles down on it. Now they have to.
Trust me, you don't want any part of this. Yeah, it's like that scene from what's that movie with guy from Step Brothers, where he's the musician. Jeez, I can't even think of his name.
Oh, the Ricky Bobby.
Not Will Ferrell.
No. It's
Oh jeez.
Walk Hard.
Walk Hard. That's it.
What's his character's name?
Let me see if I can find this video. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, they're like, you don't want any of this. He's like, I think I do.
It's so fucking funny. Okay, here we go. We got it on YouTube. Okay, hold on.
Get out of here, Dewey.
What are y'all doing here?
We're smoking reefer. And you don't want no part of this shit.
You're smoking reefers?
Yeah, of course we are. Can't you smell it?
No, Sam.
Come on, Dewey. Join the party.
No, Dewey. You don't want this. Get out of here.
You know what? I don't want no hangover. I can't get no hangover.
It didn't give you a hangover.
Well, I get addicted to it or something?
It's not habit forming.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't want to overdose on it.
You can't OD on it.
It's not gonna make me want to have sex, is it?
It makes sex even better.
Sounds kind of expensive.
It's the cheapest drug there is. You don't want it.
I think I kind
I think
Okay, but just this once. Come on in.
He's all right, come on.
all right, just as one. Go on. It's the
cheapest drug
there
ever.
is.
It's non-habit forming.
Says all those things like they're terrifying.
Yeah. You don't want
It's
this.
not addictive.
It's the cheapest drug there is. It makes sex
best
better.
Way, best way to get someone to do
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
Tell them not to.
Case in point. Dewey from Walk
Dewey
Hard.
Cox.
Dewey Cox, there we go.
Dewey Cox.
I still haven't even watched that movie. I've seen that clip 1,000 times, but I've never watched the movie.
I have seen more clips of it than I have the actual movie.
At this point, we've probably seen the movie.
So much of it has been memed.
It's okay. It's good.
At least all the best parts.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God for meme culture.
I get all my news from the memes.
So do I.
That's how I know something important happened. There'll be a meme
They
about it.
meme. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the memes that are happening right now. I don't want it to get canceled.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Do you know that one song is like burr, 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 burr,
Yeah.
burr, 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 burr. So people make like somebody will have some big fail and they'll freeze frame it
Yeah.
and turn it into some animation. That is my hands down favorite. That is my hands down favorite.
I like the ones where they're it's usually like somebody falling, but the sound they make is like a clip from a song, but it's perfect. Have you seen these?
Oh, is it the somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me, but it's like somebody wants
no,
to
no.
like as they like hit the ground, because I see that one a lot.
Let me see if I
Smash
can.
Mouth.
Let me see if I can find it.
Smush teeth. Smush teeth.
Come on. Where's it at? It's so good, man. Oh, yeah. Dismiss. I don't want your cookies. All right, so this, I'm going to show you the video, and then I'm going to... Oh, you know what? I can pull this up on YouTube. What's it called? Smells like Teen Shovel Cube. That's a weird name. Okay.
What?
Yeah, somebody didn't know how to spell. This is hilarious. You're going to get a kick out of this. Oh, geez, so many mice. What's it
I
called?
was trying to think of recent memes that I liked, and all three that I saw, I can't talk about because they'll get us canceled.
Here it is.
I like that. That was funny. Yeah, I've seen some like that. That's a good one though. That's
And there's others that like people running and jumping and hitting their heads, and then they turn it into like Bang Bang by Jessie J.
Oh yeah, I've seen or they they slip on their skateboard and rack themselves on the rail, and they'll use the Michael Jackson for it.
Yeah.
They'll use it in place of Michael Jackson.
Memes are great. I really enjoy memes.
Yeah. It's what I really have Instagram for.
I don't know how you do it. I can't do Instagram.
I just follow only awesome stuff like that.
It's
Stuff like that, like what we just played. That's the vast majority of what I follow.
Jesus, you're the only person that sends me memes anymore. And,
Because I'll run across and be like, oh, you know who I think this is funny?
oh, geez, that Macaulay Culkin one you sent me earlier. Literally face palmed.
Another one that we cannot show on the show. It's so bad.
Literally face palmed. I face palmed so hard, I had to clean my glasses because I had smudges all over my lenses.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's like 90% of my death scrolling on Instagram, stuff like that. It's so foul. Yeah, that one I was like, oh, and it's Michael Jackson. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's a rough joke.
Even if that is, you know, photoshopped or whatever, kudos to whoever did it. It's good.
Right? It was clever.
It's good.
My other favorite one was, or favorite one today, I should say, was the one that I sent you of all the Oscar Mayer weenie trucks lined up on the
way
road
to your
and
mom's house.
Traffic was backed up all the way to your mom's house. or the weatherman said a dress for the 90s and it's like Pearl Jam.
Yeah. And I
stand there like they're on MTV in the 90s.
I saw that and I was like, I still dress like this some days.
Minus the plaid, I'm still jeans and t-shirts all the way.
I will literally, I have like 4 plaid shirts and I'd literally wear them around my waist only. They don't fit me. They don't fit me on top. I just tie them around my waist. I'm about to the point where I'm just going to put a snap on them so I can just and be done. Not have to worry about tying it. Yep, I'm that kid. Sorry. Grew up in the 90s. That's who I am.
There's one more that I watched that they're really foul jokes, but it's got a dude on there. It's like someone reacts, like it's dude's name, like Damien reacts or whatever. And the thing that he always has at the end of the clip is him like trying really hard not to laugh, like looking at the camera and looking to the side, and it's got like a little floating Jesus with the googly eyes, like looking at the back of his head, and he's like trying not to laugh because they're bad like that, like laugh and go to hell.
There's these guys that do practical jokes but they do it in like traffic. Like they've done a few of them, like where they just at a red light get up and leave their car. But my favorite one they did, they're at a stoplight and there's a huge bumper sticker on the trunk that says "Honk if you love Satan," and they'll wait until the light turns green, and they hit the horn at the green light, and then the trunk pops open and Jesus pops out and
looks really
shakes
disappointed.
his head and closes the trunk.
I saw that one. That's good. That's good.
Meme culture, man, gotta love it. One of the best things to happen.
All right, so
Enough dilly dally.
give me a story from the creepy forest.
All right, man. We'll start with this first one. This one's pretty good. I'm gonna pull this picture up. This story is kind of relevant in the Reddit underworld. This is just another variation.
All of Reddit's the underworld.
All of Reddit is the underworld. But somebody did make a picture to accompany this. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna really enjoy this. This story just spooks me the fuck out, man. And this picture does not help. So here you go. Here's some nightmare fuel.
Teddy bear face.
Teddy bear face. So this is about the bear man. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read this story, and you'll hear my dramatic pause at the end, so you know when it's over. But again, this is from Search and Rescue Woods on Reddit /no sleep from 9 years ago. He says, I have pretty good track record for finding people. Most of the time they wander off the path or just slip down a cliff. and can't find the way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing, and they don't wander too far. But I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen, and both bother me a lot. And I use them as motivation to search even harder on missing person cases I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. The parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both of the kids apparently wandered off. And when the parents couldn't find them, they called us, search and rescue. And we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked her where her brother was, she told us that they had been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her she said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while.
Oh.
The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man, and he seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched the area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, but she never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name, before they called for help. And again, we searched everywhere, but we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone, but neither her mother or her grandpa saw her come down out of that tree.
Ugh. Snatched by giant golden eagles.
Dramatic pause.
On their way to Mordor. Yeah. Like, oh, you're not Frodo. Dropped her in the creek.
Scoop. Reminds me of an episode of NCIS where they find the scuba diver in a tree.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. It ended up, it was a forest fire, and they scooped him up with the...
In the plane.
Yeah.
In the plane, the tank plane. The water tank plane.
I'm pretty sure that was an episode of Myth.
Yeah, it was...
To see if it was possible. I love Mythbusters. Those are my people.
Yeah, that's right. It was... They did have it on Mythbusters to see if you could actually... see if that could actually happen.
Right. If you haven't yet, I recommend Adam Savage's book, Everything's a Hammer.
That sounds like some stuff you'd write.
It's good, man. It's... At first, I was like, cool, it's going to be a book about, like, Mythbuster stuff, right? No, it's a self-help book.
Oh,
and
okay.
Talks about, like, creativity and how to channel what you need to do, how to be organized, how he organizes
cool.
himself and, you know, gives advice on that. Really interesting book. I really thought it was going to be something different, and 15 minutes in, I was hooked. So,
well, he's got a new show out.
Does he? I would watch it.
I think it's just called Savage.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, looks cool. But it's just him making stuff. It's not like a Mythbusters thing. It's just him showing you. He's just doing creative stuff. Like one, he makes Gandalf's pipe like really fast.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
But he's like dressed up like I didn't watch it, but I was like, oh, I'll come back. I'll come back. But Adam Savage does make cool stuff, so I'll probably come back. But I had other stuff.
Shout out to Adam Savage.
I found exploding kittens. Yeah, shout out to Adam Savage for being a dope human being.
If you happen to come across our podcast, you're amazing. We'd love to have you on our show. Just chat with us, have a drink. Let's talk about how the world works. Neil deGrasse Tyson, too. I love that man. I would kiss him on the mouth. Maybe I would.
There you go, Neil. You're invited for a in-person kiss on the mouth with Victus.
Yes, I say it all the time because he's actually in Virginia a lot. He is an honorary degree at Virginia Tech, I think. And he's in Virginia all the time. I'm like, dude, just swing by my house. Let's have a coffee. Talk about stuff. You know, I don't really want to pick his brain. I just want to hang out with the guy. Come on, buddy. Let's go.
He seems like a really interesting dude. I
does.
I know he's always on for all the, everybody always has science questions for him, which he's always happy to answer. But the way in which he answers the question and his perspective on a lot of this stuff, even when people ask him about like, well, how do you explain God or ghosts or any of that stuff, like he's always got a super interesting take on it. Even he was on. I saw a clip where someone was asking about, what do you think about UFOs? He's like, all right, so here's the thing about UFO. Like he just like unfazed, jumped right into it, and he's like, nothing. There's nothing out there to say that it's not happening. He's like, which, and there's nothing that says that it can't. So if we take those two things out, that means that it can, and likely is.
Yeah, his man with
do
the
we have
golden
good
voice. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's like, now do we have good proof?
Yeah,
we do not. But
yeah,
that's a matter of time, not a matter of possibility. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
Tell me more.
He's the very I call him in my mind, because I listen to his podcast every week. In my mind, I call him the accessible physicist, because everything he says is easily accessible.
Mm-hmm. He was like Bill Nye without the weird bent to him.
Yeah, because
Bill always had the over exaggerated thing to his character. Though he's got a new show, Bill Nye Explains Everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Bill Nye Explains the World or something like that. Very good.
I recommend Star Talk. It's Neil deGrasse.
It's Bill Nye the Science Guy for adults.
Oh, okay.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
But Star Talk is Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, and it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
Also, did you know that Bill Nye so he's part of a project to launch a working solar sail, like as a propulsion system.
Uh-huh.
And the first one that they launched, they've launched one and it failed, but not it was the launch vehicle broke up, but they've launched one now that deployed and works. I mean, it's been like a lifelong work for him that was started by Carl Sagan.
Okay.
The initiative and group was started and funded by Carl Sagan, but their first launch, they launched it from a Russian nuclear sub.
Ugh.
Like Russian nuclear sub and carrying nukes. So they replaced the warhead. They got the Russians to replace the warhead on one of the nukes with one of their ICBMs with their satellite launch system, and launched it out of the ocean out of a nuclear sub.
That's cool.
I was like, dude, how did you talk the Russians into that?
Right?
That's cool.
Yeah, they hate us, so I'm very surprised. Although,
yeah, they're like, sure, if you pay us, we'll shoot anything out of a sub at anything. I mean, of course, we don't care.
I imagine if Bill Nye rolled up just about any country, he probably would get the same reaction as, say, oh geez, shame on me, what's the basketball player with the crazy hair who wears a dress sometimes?
Rodman.
There you go. Yeah, Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because all the world leaders that are now in power saw their language version translation of Bill Nye the Science Guy in the 90s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, late 90s. So same with Dennis Rodman. They all grew up watching him play basketball and wear dresses.
Yeah.
And the crazy hair.
And he's just they give off cool dude vibes.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Like, sure, you need a nuke. I mean, you want to keep that. I mean, we're not going to use the warhead now. You want to keep that? It's cool.
Yeah.
Want a souvenir?
Take this home with you. Here you go.
Yeah. I mean, can't give you a whole thing. We'll give you the core. You want some plutonium? What's up?
You didn't get it from us.
Got some enriched uranium in a spherical shape that we could let you have as a paperweight.
Oh, geez. That reminds me of a video. A guy bought some depleted uranium from dark web, and he did a
How'd he do that?
He did a video of unboxing, and he's like, I'm not sure if this is what I ordered or not, and he lifts the lid off of the shell, and immediately the camera starts fucking up, and like
that's not quite as depleted as I would hope.
Yeah, and like scientists have watched the video and they're like, oh no, this guy's probably dead right now. That is classic radiation interference with cameras.
Yeah, if there's enough radiation to interfere with your electrical equipment, that is not very depleted.
And he's like, touching it and stuff. Oh, cool. Interesting.
No.
No, he didn't lick it. That was me.
Yeah, but still. I mean, if you open it up and it's effing with your electrical equipment, dude,
Yeah.
that's a lot of radiation.
Yeah, man.
If he's not dead, he wish he were.
Yeah. He's probably
Jeez.
either he's liquefied into a blob of hair and teeth.
He looks like Professor X after he doesn't eat for 3 weeks.
All right, we're already at an hour. That's fine. I'm totally cool with the pace this one's going. We're doing good for not really having something for this week's episode.
Like I said, the topic's just it's the backbone that we mostly try not to step on.
Yeah.
As we work our way through the episode, we walk around it and beside it and look over at it and mostly don't touch it that much. It's like a rattlesnake in the middle of the show. You just kind of we keep an eye on it, but don't really mess with it.
Right. Yeah.
What else do we
Be scared of rattlesnakes. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Here we go. I got one for you. He says, and I quote, "One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search of a young woman who got separated from her hiking group. We were out late one night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and her pack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that big man with the black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to base, the more agitated this woman became. She started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave. He wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like a coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within sight of base ops, the woman turns to me. Her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at that scar on your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says it, I hear a weird coughing right in my ear, and just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to base ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say, I was really happy when we left the area that night. So these stories get fucking spooky, man. I love these.
See, and I like stories like that only because, like those are like if somebody sat down and was like, "I'm gonna write a ghost story," like that's too weird, I think, for most people to write because the details are spooky, but not in a way that you're like, "Oh, spooky story."
You're right.
Spooky. Like that would not be the elements I would think of if writing something, but that's which is, I guess, what makes it seem believable and viscerally creepy.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, even if these are fake, they're good. They're fucking
Well, and that's
good.
not too dissimilar from you hearing the sigh,
Oh,
like right
yeah,
near you,
yeah.
but from the direction of the woods, which are far enough away that like someone sighing would be kind of hard to hear, but all of you guys heard it.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that like it's a tiny detail and a tiny fact, but enough to be like, oh,
Yeah, there's a correlation. That's the great part about it.
Yeah.
And, oh, jeez. When I first moved here to Virginia, I found out where my wife's mom worked, and she works at a big state park nearby. So there's a really popular island just off the coast that everybody goes to here, and the entire island is a state park.
oh, okay.
And I found out she worked there. I was like, because I saw her getting ready for work one morning. Because when we first moved here, we lived with them for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her getting ready for work, and she was packing her lunch, and I noticed she was wearing a Forest Service uniform. And I was like, have you ever heard any weird stories? She's like, I've heard a few, but I don't like to tell them because they creep me out. So I feel like, there is some reality to what this guy's writing down.
Right.
And
well, and I got to imagine too, even just so there's not as many of them as there used to be now with like imaging satellites and stuff like that. But it used to be a large tracts of the forest were monitored by, fire watchtower.
Mm-hmm.
And still in a lot of the big national parks, they've preserved them, right? And you can go up in some. But I follow a lady on Instagram, and her job 3 months at a time is to be on this watchtower, but the watchtower is on top of a mountain peak.
Yeah.
So the tower itself, it's just a cabin on top of a slightly raised platform
Right.
to make a level ground, because the peak is the lookout.
Mm-hmm.
She's up there for 3 months at a time, just her and her dog.
Yeah.
And like she just showed her most recent like pack in, and it was like all the water, like all the stuff gets airlifted to the spot.
Uh-huh.
Her dog, all the stuff gets dropped, in an airlift, and then that's where she is. Like there's, it's like a day or two hike to like if she wants to walk to the nearest help,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a day or two hike. And it makes me wonder, like, a lot of those fire stations were like that. You're out there, I mean, maybe not months at a time. This one's because it has to be airlifted. That's why she's out there so long at a time.
Right.
But most of these ranger outposts were for long stretches of time. Week by yourself out in the woods, and there's nothing else out there. Well, or so you hope. And I wonder when there's only a single observer. I mean, I don't think it's people going crazy. I think what you have when you're talking about the Forest Service and stuff like that is you don't have as much intrusion of the developed world.
Right.
And so I think that there's some sort of natural occurrence of weirdness that gets pushed out by all the busyness of society, like city life.
Yeah.
Right. I think it doesn't leave much room for that sort of thing because there's just so much going on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if there were paranormal things going on, like small voices and things like that, everyday life is so busy, you're unlikely to notice.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that accounts for why there's so much weirdness in the forest rescue stuff.
Yeah, like you're tuned in to what's really happening.
Yep. And you're out away from other stuff, and there's, and if, let's say entities were nefarious or or had some agenda, the likelihood of them acting on one person by themselves seems higher than, say, like trying to do something in the middle of town. And if they can affect things like radio waves and signals, the city has got to be like a giant deluge of of interference.
Like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Right. Because we're just saturated in it more and more all the time, whereas out there you're really not. And so I wonder if that makes it easier for that sort of thing to, I mean, this is all theory, right? Or conjecture, but I wonder if that makes it easier for these things to exist.
Yeah,
fundamentally.
It makes sense. Because a lot of these stories come out from middle of nowhere. So I could see how many stories have you heard, like spooky forest? It goes back.
Oh yeah,
it goes back to medieval times. Stay out of the woods.
Right. That's like some of the oldest spooky story stuff that we have as a human race. It's always the dark forest or that uninhabited place or that cursed land, or you know what I'm saying, somewhere where people are not.
Yeah, I keep thinking about.
So I'm mostly extrapolating because I know that all the, back to the ghost hunter thing, you were talking about the spirit box and the flashlight, and people use recording equipment, and we're trying to use these things that are, radio waves are pretty subtle energies because they don't interact with much. They don't have an impact. It's not high energy stuff in the grand scheme of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, a lot of those devices are trying to give something that can't put off a lot of energy. Like you and I can make a lot of physical energy, right, to
Right.
interact with stuff. So you're trying to give something that can't generate a ton of energy because it's not corporeal. You're trying to give it a way to interact that doesn't take much energy, like the tiny little diaphragm on my microphone.
Right.
Right. It's a thin little skin. The only reason it can pick up my voice so clearly like this is because it's so sensitive. Whereas if I just touch the tip of it with a pin, it'd be this incredibly loud
Yeah.
scratch
Yeah.
on my headphones right now. So the idea that a ghost, right, could interact with a microphone in a way that you and I can't hear, well, if it's just, sitting there interacting with it, it would pick up. So that's what makes me wonder if they're that subtle of a being, right, or that subtle of a presence. I feel like being bombarded all the time by, you can say, cell phone, microwaves, light, all that. They're all various spectrums of electromagnetic energy.
Right.
So we're just flooded in it all the time.
Right.
So I wonder if you follow that as, they interact with that stuff well, if that makes it hard for them to exist or be their most themselves or able to materialize in places where there's a whole lot of that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good train of thought. I think we've got time for one more of these. And I was glancing over it. This one's a staircase story.
Oh, let's hear
You
it.
want to hear it?
Yeah, I do. The staircase thing is intriguing to me.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It really is.
Stuff where stuff's not supposed to be. I like that.
I'll see if I can find this guy's YouTube channel and send it to you so you can go down a rabbit hole. Maybe you'll fall asleep with it running and some spooky shit in your TV when you wake up in the middle of the night. All right, so he says, it's probably the weirdest story I have. I don't know if it's true in every search and rescue unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other search and rescue officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we were really far out into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost as if you took the stairs out of your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about them for the first time I saw one, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go and check them out, but I was told very empathetically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them, because it happens so frequently. So, this concept has become so prevalent, they made a movie about it.
What?
It's called The Stairs.
I have not watched it.
It's not as good as I was hoping. but it's cool to have, a fleshed out concept that you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't sit there and watch every minute. I think I was either playing on my phone or playing on my laptop or something. But
I do find it interesting, though, that if that's the case, they run into them this often. Why? Aren't there pictures?
I don't think a lot of them carry cameras.
I guess they got a pack light, but still, if that was happening that often.
So this was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So at this point, it was old news.
Dude, I would just take a picture of every damn one of them, man.
And they say, so the reoccurring theme is they're never in the same spot.
Yeah.
And when you go looking for them, you won't find them.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if you watch the movie, it wraps up all of the theories around the staircases into a nice little package. So it's UFOs are even part of it, and missing time is a part of it. Everything that you can think about that's on Reddit about the staircase is wrapped up into this movie. It's a little much, but it was interesting. I just wanted to see the movie because I went down this rabbit hole for like 6 months. Good fun. Transcription errors are in there.
The transcription error thing I find very interesting. I feel like I saw on one of those like unexplained mysteries shows.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw once an X-ray of somebody's like a bone in their spine being just
Yeah.
slightly
Yeah.
in a way that looked like, I mean, it looked like it should have been cut and repositioned, but it was grown together.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, granted, I don't think that they had an X-ray of him previous to when he started having trouble, right? Like when this happened, but they're like, somebody would have noticed this.
Yeah.
Like some doctor, even palpitating your back because you had the flu, right? Like somebody, like it's visible from the outside of the skin. That's why we X-rayed it. Like somebody would have, some doctor somewhere would have noticed this. And if this is a genetic defect, it's something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I seem to remember that, but I couldn't remember if it was on a fictional movie, but I feel like it was one of those unexplained mysteries shows.
Well, there is. Jesus, cables everywhere. I have so many things going on over here. I mean, there's lots more of this to talk about. I'm a little gun shy to read some of this stuff now that I see that copyright notes over here. We'll see what happens. Push comes to shove, we lose an episode. But, you know,
So we'll have it for like 3 years before anyone notices this.
Honestly, yeah, it's Reddit. Nobody's really.
That's how you know we're popular. Somebody goes back far enough to find this episode. It's like, hey, I think there was a copyright on that. I think you need to take that down. We'll be like, hey, happily.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
It's
we
cool.
don't need it anymore. It's all good.
Set the episode
good.
from public to private. Done.
Yeah, no problem.
Also,
Glad you went back that far.
I wanted to point out that we discovered this week that we had an episode on YouTube that had no audio. It has been fixed. It was episode 103, The Somerton Man. So the episode has been re-uploaded and it's fixed. So if you want to go back and listen to that, if you're not on Spotify, if you're only watching on YouTube, it is available now and it is fixed. So, whole episode there. Great story if you haven't listened to it yet.
Sorry if you tried to and were frustrated.
Yes, we apologize.
We just found it.
Yeah, it was. I honestly don't know how it slipped. I really don't. That was back when I was putting like 8 hours of editing time into the episodes. I say back then. Geez, that was 3 episodes ago.
Back when.
We've been almost at this for 2 months now.
That's true. That's true. Soon to be.
How do you feel about it?
I am loving it. I mean, I'm gonna be really honest. I would sit here and shoot the shit with you anyway.
Yeah.
So if anyone else finds it interesting, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. I think it's terribly interesting, and I find us probably funnier than anyone should think that themselves are. But I think we're hilarious, so I hope somebody else finds it fun too.
I mean, the numbers are looking good. We're getting, excuse me, we're getting a better viewers. We're getting better viewers on YouTube than we are on Spotify.
Oh,
So, hey everybody on
that's
Spotify,
good.
thanks for watching us. We appreciate it. You know, we're gonna
well, that's good.
continue to increase our production value as we move along.
Yes. You know, the truth is the more you all tune in and the more you all listen, the more we can justify dedicating portions of the rest of our life and allocating it to this.
Yeah.
So, not that we're waiting for that or anything, but you know, there is a work-life balance that we have to work within. But the more this demands it, the more we'll give it. So, if you watch and listen, comment, like and subscribe, etc. Beyond Shadows podcast on YouTube, and but you know, the more we can give it, So we do notice that you listen, and as with others, if you leave a comment, we might drop your name on the show.
Yeah.
At least in these early episodes while we still can.
Yeah, we've only gotten one comment so far, and we plugged her last week.
Yeah,
because she's great, and she admired my cat ears.
I was looking for my own additions to my headphones, and I found some cool alien eye stalks.
Oh,
Because
okay.
everybody's 3D printing stuff for headphones, so I'm looking for ones that I might like.
Cool, yeah.
They looked like I could put them on the sides and curve them around in front of my own eyes. So I might do that because they looked like fun.
I do have a new set piece coming. It'll be here tomorrow. I ordered it, and it was supposed to have been delivered today, but it's behind a little bit. But so behind me, I've got a Starfield poster, and I'm gonna take the Starfield poster down. I'm gonna cover this whole area. And it's a recreation of the poster from Mulder's office in the X-Files, the I Want to Believe.
Yes! Our motto. That's so good.
So
I like that.
It'll be a permanent fixture here. I'll just have to find a new home for my Starfield poster, which is fine.
That's cool. Yeah, his terrible cheap poster.
Yeah.
In his office that said "I Want to Believe."
Like it was so cringe. Think about it, like, ooh, this is my motto, this is my credo.
Right.
I'm gonna stick this on the wall. I want to believe.
And it looked like a cheap poster you buy out of like what's that awful gag gift place in the malls?
Gadzooks.
Gadzooks.
Are they still open? They still
I
running?
don't. Not here.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Not since after. I mean, I guess after high school they were still around for a little while, but it just got the stuff you find in there got worse.
Spencer's, that's it.
Spencer's.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Gadzooks was a clothing store.
Yeah, Gadzooks.
Yeah, Spencer's.
Gadzooks
Spencer's
closed many
Gifts
years
always
ago.
had. Yeah, Spencer's Gifts always had just the worst stuff. The penis straws for for bridal showers.
Yeah.
And the over the hill gifts with like the cane with a horn on it and Viagra hanging from it. All the foul humored.
I'm seriously considering like redoing my entire area here just for the podcast, but a lot of this is practical. Like my soldering stations over here, I do a lot of tinkering. It doesn't look organized, but it's organized for me. I know where everything is. I tinker with a lot of electronics, so a lot of this has a purpose. So if I move it, I need to find a place to put it where I could use it. And I mean, I've got a large-ish house, but I'm not made of space, so it might just get more organized, but definitely going to have the I Want to Believe poster right here next week.
That'll be good. I like that.
I'm very excited. Check out the Instagram. I'll make a post when I get it put up, so everyone can enjoy it with us.
That'll be fun. I like that.
But
all right, well,
we may end up having to move our recording and posting schedule a little bit. So, because if I get this new job, my schedule's going to change.
Right.
So I'm expecting to hear something back tomorrow. Tomorrow or Saturday. Wait, what's today? Oh, it's 11 o'clock here. So it's Thursday now. So Friday or Saturday, I should hear something. And if that happens, then my schedule will be changing, but it's a standard hours, 8 to 5. And then every other Saturday I'll have to work. But
okay, well, you just be on the same schedule I am then. I mean,
we may find something that works better.
Yeah, we can do it a little earlier if we need to, or we can do it on weekends. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, well, just keep that in mind, listeners out there. If y'all want to reach out to us, you can email us at beyondshadowspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at beyondshadowspodcast, and we're also on Facebook, Beyond the Shadows Podcast. Look for this logo, this skulls. This is our logo. Everywhere you see this is us. And then we are on YouTube at Beyond Shadows Podcast. Odds are, if you're watching this video, you already know that. And we're on Spotify. There's no good way for me to link the 412 character link name, so just look for us and this logo
and the logo
on Spotify. You'll find us. Yeah. You know, and what do you got? What are you thinking for next week?
So you know, I mentioned to you we still want to do the past life stuff, but that's got a lot more setup and doing, because we've got to do quite a few recordings and because you know, there's most people's past lives are not super interesting,
Right.
Shocker. Not everyone's Cleopatra or Napoleon Bonaparte,
Right.
so
Or his brother that saw not Mothman, but the Jersey Devil.
yeah. So you know, so we'll have to do a few, but the plan is we'll do a setup episode where we'll have Paul in to talk about what it is, the theory behind it, and how it works, and what he does, you know, as far as how he conducts his sessions.
Mhm.
And we'll do a second part where we actually have someone's session. So that's a longer setup. I'd like to do another UFO one
Okay.
next week.
Yeah. We'll shoot for UFOs next week, and I'll dig and see if I can find. I think I know a good one.
Okay.
I feel like I want to surprise you with this one, so I don't give you any details. I like your reactions to these things.
I like those. I
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
I'll
If there's plenty of material, because if you have lots of material, I mean, like the Phoenix Lights, you know, we didn't even have that much stuff other than camera angles and people's stuff. It went way longer than I expected, just because it was a highly seen thing. So if we got a lot of pictures and video, and there's some interviews and accounts, like stuff that we can read from or play, I think it'll be great. So if you want to surprise me, I'm happy to stay in the dark.
I will surprise you with this next one. There's not a lot of like physical evidence. You're not going to see pictures or videos, but there's a group of about 100 children that saw this UFO, and it landed.
Was this the one in Africa?
Damn it. Okay, we're gonna choose a different one then. All right.
I've heard of a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was a good one.
No, Spencer, my buddy Spencer talks about that one a lot. He said we should cover it.
Okay, well, let's do that one next week then.
So I don't know much about it. I just know that a bunch of school children saw
It's
a UFO and had a pretty lengthy interaction with it.
it's wild, man.
So, okay, yeah. So I will just make a point not to read anything about it.
Yes, don't. I'll make next week
And I will
interesting.
not let him tell me anything about it. And we'll do that one, and you can surprise me.
Just tell him we're doing it, so he'll listen next week.
Okay, because what I've said now is absolutely everything I know about
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
it. What I just said, that's all of it. That's everything I know about it. So that'll be good. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, well, next week we'll do UFO episodes. Sorry if this week's episode wasn't quite up to your standards, folks. We just ran into some researching hiccups, and it happens sometimes. You know, it comes back to that work-life ratio thing, and, you know, we still got a job, and we still got to manage our time and our lives with research. So,
Well, and the truth is, I'm going to, you know, you live all the way across the country, and this is a great excuse for me to kill some time with you anyway.
Yeah.
So
I'm not angry for the hang-up time at all. Not at all.
So, you know, it's, you know, that we work in some UFO stuff just gives us interesting stuff to talk about, so someone else can relate besides our inside jokes that no one will get.
All right. Well, again, our email is beyondshadowspodcast@gmail.com. If you guys have an idea for an episode, or you have comments you want to talk shit to us, let us know. And, you know, we will be here every week. Our day might change for when our episodes get posted, but we will post every week. I promise, folks. And with that, you know, just make sure that, you know, follow us.
Beyond the shadows.
Beyond the motherfucking shadows.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.
A creature like that, how would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
shadows.